All right, it's going for 10 o'clock at night. The crickets are going nuts, but I want to take a few minutes before I hit the hay and share a couple more examples of what it looks like to see regular everyday Americans resisting Trump's efforts to send the military into our cities. And in particular, what does it look like to erode the pillar of support that is the National Guard or other members of the military as they are put into our cities? I really want us to think about what opportunity do we have here? Because it's not just all a negative, right? Yes, it's scary. Yes, Trump wants you to believe that he can put soldiers in our cities to intimidate us, that he wants to expand that all the way into the election so that you're afraid to show up at your polling place, right? He's trying to cancel mail-in voting so that you have to go to the polls, and he wants there to be soldiers everywhere, and then you're afraid to show up and vote against him. Blah, 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 blah. Classic authoritarian, desperate tactics. We're not going to give into it. But there's an opportunity here too, right? I think that there is a chance for every single person who lives in one of these communities, when you are seeing soldiers out on the streets, or you're seeing, like in DC, is also sent like ATF and Border Patrol, FBI, even regular civilian law enforcement. How do we undermine those folks' support for the regime? We get to have one-on-one contact with them. We get to have conversations with them. So how do we use that to our advantage? In permaculture, we say the problem is the solution. And I think that that's what we're looking at here with the National Guard being sent into our cities. So, in the before times, I would say, how do we look at life through a permaculture lens? How am I assessing every situation through the 12 principles and 3 ethics of permaculture? Right now, I would say, how do we look at everything we're interfacing with, every situation, every interaction through the lens of resistance, right? How is it that I am framing my thinking, framing my perception, so that everything I'm doing, every conversation, every movement, every choice is one that advances the cause of resistance? Every little thing that I do, where is there a chance to push back? Where is there a chance to stand up for democracy, to stand up for my neighbors, and to work to erode those pillars of support? Our goal when it comes to the military, when it comes to law enforcement, is to get them to question the mission, is to get them to say, when the crucial moment comes, I'm not willing to do this. This is a bridge too far for me. This is a line I won't cross. I don't feel okay about this. I'm not going to pull the trigger. I'm not going to brutalize my neighbors. I'm not going to violate my oath to the Constitution. That's our goal. It's not really to scare National Guard off the streets. It's not to intimidate them into going away. That's not going to work. The way that they get withdrawn from our cities, what we saw in Los Angeles and what we're watching right now in DC, because there's reports that troops are already being pulled out of DC and they're getting ready to send them to Boston and Chicago. The way that those troops get pulled out is that we don't give Donald Trump the bait. We don't start a riot. We don't smash shit. We don't start fights with law enforcement. We give him no ammunition against us, right? LA has been extremely successful in that regard. Pretty much everybody, all the Marines are gone. Thousands of National Guard are gone. Donald Trump lost time and time again in the courts there. And the same thing is happening in DC. People are not giving him the bait. They are marching with nonviolence at the forefront of their motivation. They are not giving Trump any ammunition to declare a rebellion or to take away any of our rights. We're watching the National Guard having to spread mulch and clean up garbage because there's nothing for them to do. It's making Donald Trump look like the big fat liar that he is. It is highlighting the fact that we are all reasonable citizens trying to live our lives in the democracy that is the United States of America. And Donald Trump, he is absolutely irrational, nonsensical. He's blathering about crime everywhere. And that's not happening. In fact, we're seeing the National Guard have nothing to do. They feel used. They feel manipulated. They're pawns in Donald Trump's political game. That's not good for their morale. So, right, this juxtaposition of peaceful Americans going about their business makes Donald Trump and his actions look not only ridiculous and hyperbolic, it makes him look extreme. Right, look at the polling around deploying National Guard around the country. A majority of Americans are deeply opposed to this, including a strong majority of independent voters. It creates that juxtaposition. We are reasonable. This regime is extreme. We are law-abiding. They are trying to take away our rights. But as long as those members of the military are in our cities, how can we remind them that they are being used by the Trump regime? How can we remind them that they are on the wrong side of history if they stand in support of Donald Trump? When he comes down with illegal orders, unfortunately, a lot of what he's done so far, not illegal. We don't like it. It's gross. It's absolutely him trying to further his authoritarian agenda. not technically illegal. That's at least what I hear from my lawyer friends. Nonetheless, it's really important that we have a chance to communicate one-on-one with members of the National Guard when they're right in front of us. You're being used. It shouldn't be this way. You know that this isn't right. And you know what? We're going to trust that when the moment comes, you're not going to comply with those orders. We trust that you will uphold your oath to the Constitution. We trust that you will do the right thing. Look at me. I'm your neighbor. You don't want to fire on me. You don't want to brutalize me. You don't want to destroy this country for Donald Trump. Now, bear in mind here, I think that our tactics need to be different when we're looking at, say, National Guard versus ICE, right? Different entities, different training, different kinds of people work for those branches of law enforcement and the military. So we don't want to have a one-size-fits-all approach here. So I'm going to show you a couple of clips, and I would love to know what you think of these tactics. Because some of them are about shaming and ridiculing, some of them are how dare you, how could you, and some of them are remember who you are, remember why you're doing this, remember what you stand for. And I think both of those are really valuable tactics used in different sets of circumstances and with different folks. So we've got to have some discernment there. Okay, let me show you. Okay, obviously that's ICE. Maybe, I don't know, they don't show any badges, they don't produce any warrants. So what do you think of that strategy? We are also getting reports from The Atlantic and others that morale is low among ICE agents. They don't feel good about what they're doing. I hope not. I hope they're really worried about the day when they have to face justice for what they're doing now. I think shaming them and demanding that they follow the law, I think that's appropriate. Okay, but what about the National Guard? What do you think about that? He did ask their permission before he started, and they didn't know what he was going to do. But gosh, it's so uncomfortable, right? I actually think that's a really interesting tactic to take. What were they thinking about when he was doing that? I don't know. What do you think? Hang on, I got one more. Probably going to have a bunch of these over the next few days. Yeah, I don't blame members of the National Guard for being sent in, right? I understand that morale is quite low with them already. They don't want to be doing this. They signed up to fight fires and to help with COVID vaccinations, right? They signed up to serve their community, and instead they're being told, we don't want you here. You're hurting us. You're oppressing us. You signed up to serve your country, and instead you are oppressing it. How do you feel about that? How can you live with yourself? How can you sleep at night? And we know that that kind of messaging is actually really good. It's really good at getting these guys to become non-compliant. I will probably show some clips over the next couple days of folks having conversations. Again, just reminding them, what are you doing here? When the moment comes, will you do the right thing? Do you understand your oath to the Constitution? How do you feel about what Trump is doing? Right? Understanding they're not going to be able to answer you. Hi, I live in this city and you're hurting me, you're hurting our neighbors, you're scaring our children. Is that what you want to be doing? Do you think that this is okay in the United States? Have those conversations with them. They're human beings. They're our fellow Americans. We've got to remind them of their humanity and of ours, especially when we're looking at National Guard, but also with ICE agents. What tactics do you think would be most effective when it comes to nonviolent resistance and eroding the military as a pillar of support?